And a week that should be filled with gratitude and thanks and honor, kicking off with the president attacking an esteemed retired military officer, not just any military leader, the Navy SEAL commander who led the Osama bin Laden raid, Admiral Bill McRaven. And in Trump-like fashion, the president's not just going after a man who has served both Republican and Democratic leaders. He is continuing to tweet about it, insisting that the four-star admiral should have captured the 9/11 mastermind sooner, writing, "Of course we should have captured Osama bin Laden long before we did. I pointed him out in my book just before the attack on the World Trade Center. President Clinton famously missed his shot. We paid Pakistan billions of dollars and they never told us he was there. Fools!" Exclamation point. We should point out it was not McRaven's responsibility to find Osama bin Laden. It was the CIA's. And McRaven has said he believes that Trump's attacks on the media is the greatest threat to democracy, which he stood by in response to the president, saying to CNN, quote, "When you undermine the people's right to a free press and freedom of speech and expression, then you threaten the Constitution and all for which it stands." This is adding to the growing list of presidential attacks against admired, retired, and current service members, from Gold Star families to Senator John McCain. And now the Republican Party is siding with Trump, tweeting, quote, "Worth noting, after recent comments, retired Admiral William McRaven was reportedly on Hillary Clinton's shortlist for vice president in 2016. He's been critical of President Trump, even dating back to the 2016 campaign. He is hardly a non-political figure." That from the Republican Party. CNN's Barbara Starr joins me now live. Barbara, McRaven, certainly not the kind of person you would expect a commander-in-chief to attack. Many years in the service, many hard years in the service. Why is Trump going after him?
Well, let's start with this. There's no public indication Bill McRaven has any plans to run for public political office. President Trump likes to hit back at his critics. He likes to be the toughest guy in the room. With Bill McRaven, he might have met his match. Commander-in-Chief Donald Trump verbally assaulting retired four-star Admiral William McRaven, the Navy SEAL who led the dangerous mission that killed Osama bin Laden.
He's a Hillary Clinton backer. And an Obama backer. And frankly,
he was a Navy SEAL.
Wouldn't it have been nice if we got Osama bin Laden a lot sooner than that? Wouldn't it have been nice?
McRaven commanding covert operations around the world, including SEAL Team 6 and the Army's Delta Force, including troops who helped capture Saddam Hussein and rescue Captain Richard Phillips from Somali pirates. McRaven is not backing down in the face of President Trump's words, telling CNN, "I stand by my comment that the president's attack on the media is the greatest threat to our democracy in my lifetime." Trump then doubling down, tweeting, "Of course we should have captured Osama bin Laden long before we did." Trump apparently furious about an August op-ed in which McRaven defended former CIA Director John Brennan after Trump revoked Brennan's security clearance, writing, "I would consider it an honor if you would revoke my security clearance as well." Despite the insults, the president's defenders say he always puts the military first.
No president has shown greater respect for the military and the veterans.
But another four-star special operations commander, fired by President Obama, defended McRaven against Trump.
The president is simply wrong.
And raised the issue why the president did not visit Arlington Cemetery this past Veterans Day.
Maybe that's honest, because if you really don't care, it would be dishonest to pretend that you do.
But the president says in the future he will go.
You know, in retrospect, I should have, and I did last year, and I will virtually every year.
President Trump's insults to military heroes go back to the 2016 presidential campaign, attacking John McCain, who spent more than 5 years as a POW in North Vietnam.
He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
And as a candidate criticizing Gold Star parents.
You have sacrificed nothing and no one.
Especially a mother whose son was killed in Iraq.
If you look at his wife, she was standing there. She had nothing to say. Maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say. You tell me.
And in the last couple of minutes, the former CIA director, Leon Panetta, who led the agency during the bin Laden mission, issued a statement saying, in part, and I quote, "President Trump owes an apology to Admiral Bill McRaven and all of the Special Operations Forces and intelligence professionals who planned and executed one of the most important counterterrorism missions in our nation's history." And perhaps something to think about is just how hard it is to find a particular person somewhere in the world who is a so-called high-value target. President Trump's administration still has not found Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS.
We saw with Bill McRaven. I don't have to repeat his record. We saw with John McCain. We saw with Khizr Khan. General John Allen. We saw with Bob Mueller, of course, who was a decorated veteran in Vietnam, and the president attacks them. Why does the president go down this path so consistently?
Well, I think the president obviously takes very personally when people attack him politically, as a lot of presidents do. But I think what he needs to focus on is delineating between the political differences of opinion that he has with these folks and their service. I mean, I, for one, as a Republican, am grateful for Admiral McRaven. I mean, this man went out and put his life on the line and killed terrorists so that my children can grow up in a world that's safe for freedom and democracy. I'm grateful for that, and he's earned his right to have a political opinion. He's earned his right to criticize the president, and if he wants to get into a political argument with the president, that's fine. I think we can actually have political disagreements with former military heroes like Admiral McRaven without getting personal and without denigrating their service. And so what I'd like to see us be able to do as a Republican Party here is say, look, we honor your service. We don't agree with you politically, but we can still honor your service while having those.
Scott, to be fair, you're calling it political. I just want to remind our viewers what McRaven said. McRaven said that to have a president call the media the enemy of the people, that is an attack on the Constitution and freedom of expression. I mean, he wasn't going after the president's personal politics. He was calling out the president for what he said was a statement contrary to American values. Mary Catherine Ham, I mean, is that a political criticism from a former member of the military?
I mean, yeah, I think they can have a political disagreement about that and about, I think I would maybe disagree with McRaven about whether it's the biggest threat to democracy in our lifetimes. But that's a case you can make if you want to make the case. He doesn't make the case. And this is about him. It's, as is always, about him. And Trump, as too many people in our body politic believe now, thinks that the only path to redemption is to agree with Trump, to vote for Trump, and to praise Trump. And so if you cross that line, he can't take into account all of the other good that you have done as a human or as a patriot, and that is very unfortunate.
Even when you put your life on the line. Simone, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I know you wanted to
No, you're good, Jim. Look, I think that a cornerstone of what makes America different, what makes us, I think, in many respects better, is that we have a peaceful transfer of power, when we have free and fair and open elections, and that we have the freedom of the press. And so the fact that the president is attacking that is a direct affront to our democracy. But I'd just like to remind folks that in the months leading up to Osama bin Laden being killed, President Trump, then citizen Trump, was trafficking in a racist birther conspiracy that resulted in former President Obama releasing his birth certificate in April of that same year before bin Laden was killed in that May. So look, Donald Trump, he says he cares so much about the veterans. He says he cares so much about our military. But at every single turn, he is giving them a proverbial middle finger. And I just don't know how much longer he's going to get away with it.
I'd like one thing on what Simone just said, Jim. I would just like to point out, though, he has not given them the middle finger on policy issues. I think that is a step too far, with all due respect, Simone. They have increased military spending. They gave the troops a raise. They've given them better equipment. They have restored, in many ways, the military from being in a shambles in some ways under the Obama year's budget.
Well, the military has always been the biggest budget. If we want to be frank, no one ever skips on the military. The military has always been the biggest budget. No one is skimping on the military here, so I think it's an affront.
It had fallen into great disrepair during the Obama years, and they have absolutely increased military spending and given the troops a much-needed pay raise. That's absolutely true.
Okay, well, you can debate whether that gives the president the right to repeatedly attack servicemen with many decades.
It does not give him the right to do that.
But of course, the president did not have
the military.
Okay, of course, and the president did not volunteer for service. But Kirsten Powers, I want to ask you a question. The GOP today tweeted support, in effect, for the president's attack on McRaven and made this claim that McRaven is, in effect, political, saying that he reportedly was interested in being in Hillary Clinton's vice president, which McRaven and the Clinton campaign have denied. But why is the GOP following the president down this path?
Well, that was exactly what I was going to ask. Is basically, even if you were to allow for all sorts of contingencies here, at the end of the day, even if he is, treating the military well and they believe they're being treated well, it wouldn't matter how much money a Democrat was giving to the military and if they spoke about a veteran this way. So the question is, why are Republicans backing him up on, not even seemingly angry at him about it, and then backing him up on it? This is just so far from anything that I recognize from how Republicans normally act when we're talking about people who've served the country. I also want to say, even if he had been a Hillary Clinton supporter, it wouldn't make this okay. So, he has a right to support whoever he wants to support. It so happens he says he didn't support Hillary Clinton, but even if he did, he still deserves a basic amount of respect for his service and for what he did in terms of bin Laden.